So we are so excited to be here. We are talking about the new season of Doctor Who. This is very fun. The 11th season that we're going to be talking about the premiere and the second episode together. And I'm Rachel and Jonathan's here.
Hey, thanks for having me again.
Yeah, so we're not sure exactly like how regular or what schedule we're going to do as far as covering the season, but we definitely at least wanted to cover these episodes and talk about the new doctor, and we will do the best we can. But yeah, this is pretty exciting. New doctor, new season. Let's, I guess, just dive into the premiere. So we not only had a new doctor, but we had new showrunner and writer in Chris Chibnall. I mean, he's worked on the show in the past, but this he's now taken Stephen Moffat's position. And how do you feel about that?
I didn't know what to feel at first because I can't remember everything that he's done in the past, but I know that they weren't really my favorite episodes.
Uh-huh.
I mean, they weren't bad. Like, there's very few Doctor Who episodes that I think are actually bad, but they weren't my favorite, so I wasn't sure how I felt about it. But now that I've seen his work, I think I think they made the right choice. I'm really happy with what I've seen so far.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, I did a video on his other episodes over at the Nerdy Brit on some of his other episodes that we talked about, where we looked at, I think, 4 of his previous episodes that he'd been involved in. And it was really fun. I'll put a link down if people want to listen to that and check that out. They should, because it was really fun. And so I enjoyed all of the ones that I saw. I don't have as much to compare it to of what I've seen of Doctor Who, but yeah, I was just excited to get rid of Stephen Moffat because I do not like his writing at all, and so yay, because
I,
I think he's very gimmicky in his writing, and I don't like it.
I think
And
I think I'm feeling the opposite about Chris Chibnall as how I felt about Stephen Moffat.
uh,
Because when Stephen Moffat was first announced as the new showrunner, I thought that was the best news I'd ever heard. Because before Stephen Moffat was a showrunner, every episode that he wrote was gold.
uh-huh.
Like, so good. Like, they're my favorite. They're still some of my absolute favorite episodes. But then once he became the showrunner, I think his quality of writing went down
Yeah.
from somewhat to considerably, depending on the episode. I think he just had too much on his plate. When he's given like one episode per season to focus on, and he
Mhm.
focuses all of his creativity into those episodes, I think he's an amazing writer.
Yeah.
But when he's trying to do a big pile of episodes in the season, uh, results have been mixed. And I mean, I don't dislike anything he's done. And some of the ones he's done, I think, are great.
Uh-huh.
But by far his best episodes were before he was showrunner. And I'm thinking, and we're only 2 episodes in, so I'm thinking Chris Chibnall might be the opposite. Like, I was kind of hesitant before he came on because I didn't love his episodes. They're fine. I liked things about them, but I don't know, I wouldn't say they're any of my favorite episodes. But I think he might do a better job than what I was expecting. Whereas with Stephen Moffat, his he did not do quite as good a job as I was expecting.
The secret to happiness in life, low expectations. Yeah, the ones that we talked about with the Nerdy Brit, we talked about 42, Earth, Cold Earth, and Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, and Power of Three.
And all of those, none of them are bad episodes, and I like a lot of things about them. I just wouldn't say any of them are like top of my favorites list.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Fair enough.
just they're fine, and I'm
Surprised you don't love that dinosaur one. I would thought that would have been one of your favorites.
I I love a lot of things about it.
Yeah.
I don't love everything that happened in it. It is like they're all good episodes.
Yeah.
They're just none of them are near the top of my favorites. Yes, I
Yeah.
love dinosaurs, so you'd think it would be one of my absolute favorites. There was just things about it that were just, they're fine. I wanted it to be better than it was, but I do love the title of it though. Dinosaurs on a Spaceship. That's
Yeah.
a great title for anything.
Yeah, I just don't like Karen Gillan. That was my major problem with it. But anyway, if you want to learn more about my thoughts about that, then check out the Nerdy Brit. I'll put a link down. But anyway, so we had 2 episodes here, and we have the woman who fell to the earth is the first episode, the premiere of the season. And we start out with seeing Ryan trying to ride a bike, getting very frustrated. And he says, so today I want to talk about the greatest woman I ever met. And he wants us to think that's about the doctor. The writers want us to think it's about the doctor, of course, because we know it's going to be a woman doctor, but it's not. So then we get to see who he's really talking about over the course of the episode. And what did you think about that?
I really liked I don't know if you would say twist, that it wasn't the doctor that he was talking about. Like when it started out, my first thought was the doctor, but I was wondering, is he really talking about the doctor? Because it seemed a bit too on the nose, and that's kind of what I was afraid they were going to be doing, like everything on the nose about this being a woman doctor now, which I don't mind a little of that, but it would be very easy to overdo that.
Yes.
And I don't want that to be the focus, because Doctor Who does not need to be about the doctor's gender, because the doctor is the doctor no matter what they look like.
Yeah.
And I really didn't want them to focus on that. So I was really hoping that he wasn't talking about the doctor, and I was really glad to find out at the end that he wasn't, especially with getting to know who he was actually talking about. And I really liked that.
Yeah, me too. I thought they did a great job handling that Turkey dynamic of, not making I did not feel like this was too girl powery, I didn't think they leaned into the, I don't know, sort of any sort of feminist kind of cheesy moments, really. I thought that it was just itself, and they did a really good job, like just developing her as a character. And there were like a couple little moments where, it's a woman kind of thing, but I thought they did a really good job with that.
Yeah.
Which is sort of introducing her as the doctor.
Yeah.
So, and we find out that Ryan has a condition or disorder called dyspraxia, which I guess is kind of like dyslexia, kind of like, I don't know if it's on the spectrum, but anyway, that's what makes him very, very difficult for him to ride a bike, do some other things. So he seems a little bit socially awkward about things. And he struggles. His grandmother is named Grace, and she is married to a new husband. It's been a couple of years, I think, but anyway, named Graham, and they don't get along. He and Graham don't get along very well, and he has a hard time accepting him as a member of the family.
I really liked all these characters.
Yeah.
I really liked Ryan, and I really liked Grace. As the episode wore on, and I realized how attached I was getting to Grace, I started thinking back to all the promotional material.
Right.
And I realized that Ryan and Graham were featured heavily, and I had no idea who Grace was, and I knew where this was going.
Yeah.
And I was like, why are you making me love this character? I know you're going to kill her off.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, because we know that these 3, Graham, Ryan, and then we get to meet Yasmin, that they are the companions. And they do a really good job though of creating kind of a moral center or moral reason for them in the upcoming episodes with what happens to Grace. And I think I thought it was really good. And so we kind of get these introductions to these couple characters, and it starts out without the TARDIS. There's no TARDIS at all in this episode. And how did you feel about that?
I thought it was fine. I liked that they didn't have the TARDIS to fall back on, because I feel like sometimes, depending on the writer, the TARDIS can be used as a crutch.
Uh-huh.
And I liked that they got rid of it for an episode. I was kind of wondering if maybe they wouldn't get rid of it for a whole season.
Uh-huh.
But, I mean, as much as I like that they don't use it as a crutch, I don't want it to be gone forever. So I'm glad that they brought it back fairly quickly. They had 2 episodes where they didn't have it, but that's fine. I'm glad that they wrote it the way they did. I thought it helped them be more creative with the types of story that they could tell, where they have to go on foot to do things rather than just instantly fly across the world or space or wherever and get there immediately.
Yeah.
It helps the drama, I think.
Well, and it gave a little bit of character to the Doctor in this episode, because she's kind of an inventor in a way that I haven't seen, at least quite. That, her figuring out her new sonic screwdriver, figuring out a new way for them to transport, which is kind of fun. Gives her a little personality.
The Doctor has always been very smart, but like with the TARDIS, things can be used as crutches sometimes, and you don't really get that all the time because they have these magical devices. So I liked that they had her make a new sonic screwdriver,
right,
and make the transportation machine, the thing that got them across space. I really liked that about this episode.
Yeah. What do you think? So she ends up falling from the sky, basically, and there is this. There ends up being this kind of pod that is. It's like this orb, this alien orb. Anyway, how did you feel about sort of the introduction to Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor?
I really liked it. I really liked that it was very unconventional, just to have her crash through the ceiling, falling from the sky. Yeah. I like that. That doesn't usually happen. That doesn't happen in normal TV shows, and it added to, I don't know if you'd say, the mystery of her character. Just like, who is this person that can survive a fall from miles in the air and immediately start saving people? I really liked it.
I did too. I thought she had such personality, and I kind of liked her sort of figuring out who she was as the episode went on. Starts out half an hour ago, I was a white-haired Scotsman.
Yeah, I love that she was sort of channeling Peter Capaldi's take on the Doctor for a little while she found out who she was.
Yeah.
Because it was like remnants of his personality were still in her, and I thought she did a great job being someone who used to be him and was becoming someone else. Yeah. I loved it.
I did too. I really did. And, you could just see her sort of figuring things out as she went. I like when she said, "I never go anywhere that's just initials." She's like, and then she's like, "I'm good at building things, probably."
she has some great lines.
Yeah.
I'm probably getting ahead of myself, but in the most recent episode, I loved her line about telling the guy who is full of himself to go take one of his historic naps, and they'll wake him when they're ready. She just has some great one-liners.
Yeah, and I really like how it kind of built in this episode to the point where she sort of realizes, I am the Doctor, and I know exactly who I am. I am the Doctor. And I think that moment really paid off, because it'd been kind of building all episode. So I
Mm-hmm.
really enjoyed that. So so we have this police officer, rookie police officer named Yasmin, who Yaz, who is sort of brought in with all of this. There's this subway car that's kind of under sort of holding them all kind of hostage at a certain point, and this orb with tentacles and electricity, and they kind of take over the train, and they plant all of these bombs on these different characters, and I thought that there was some pretty good tension. I thought there was some different horror feel. I like it when the show is more sort of, I like it when the show is either more history based or more horror based, more than I like the sci-fi ones, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think I know you've said that before. I'm not like always a huge fan of horror, but when something that is technically horror has a good end, I'm a lot more open to something like that rather than everybody dies. And I mean,
Yeah.
there was like a significant death in this episode, but for the most part, this had a happy ending. So that's the kind of horror that I can get on board with. And I thought they did a good job in this
Yeah.
episode.
I mean, and nobody would like probably classify this as horror, but I'm just saying as far as like
It's
feel
scary
and
and whatnot.
tone and some things that are a little bit creepy and a little bit sort of
Mm-hmm.
and and I really do like the historical ones quite a bit as well. And so we end up at this warehouse, and there's this humanoid alien that has all of these teeth of these victims on his face. That was pretty pretty
Gross.
grisly. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
I wasn't really a big fan of the design of the alien.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. It seemed, I don't want to say cheesy because it wasn't like totally cheesy.
Uh-huh.
It just, I felt like it wasn't quite inventive enough. It felt like something that would have been on, you haven't seen any of the episodes yet, the Sarah Jane Adventures, the Doctor Who spinoff that was more aimed at kids.
Uh-huh.
It felt like something that would have been on that show, which is fine. And I don't
Interesting.
know.
It's pretty violent
I like
for kids. Teeth on his whole body.
Yeah, well, like showing them even from a distance, pulling them out, that was kind of ugh. But I don't know. There's just something that didn't feel. I don't know. I don't know how I felt about it. I didn't love it, but it was fine.
Interesting. I thought it was pretty cool. It was definitely very chilling to me, and you got this whole scene. Poor Carl, the crane operator,
Mm-hmm.
and there's this sort of long scene with them trying to save Carl, and them fighting. It turns out this alien is Sim Shaw, a warrior that hunts humans. That's what I read, and he captures Carl.
They all called him Tim Shaw, which he did not like. I did like that, calling him like a normal, bland human name, and he was upset about it.
Yeah, that's true. and Carl has his goals, all these things he wants to accomplish, and you have Grace and Ryan and Yaz and Doctor all trying to stop this alien. And it was kind of weird, I thought, because the alien, and so there's just this back and forth all on the crane, and I thought that was all pretty tense. I liked it.
Yeah, I really liked the scene on the crane. I thought they did a great job writing it and executing it, like with all the characters doing their part to help pull everything off well. I really liked how that scene was done.
Yeah. DNA bombs, but the Doctor is able to transfer the bombs into the coils.
Thing was the DNA bombs, which was, I think, basically going to rewrite the DNA, basically causing people to melt, because if somebody's DNA falls apart, they I guess they probably would melt. I don't know. But either way, that's what he was using against them, and they used his own machine to turn it back on him,
Yeah, so
infect him with his own DNA bomb.
okay, that's right. And he ends up going back into the coals, but Grace ends up she ends up falling from the crane while destroying the coils.
Mm-hmm.
And so she ends up dying, and it is very it's very sad. I was emotional. It definitely worked.
Yeah, I feel like that. I don't want to get too depressing, but I watched this on the same day that I found out my own grandma died.
Oh my gosh,
And it
yeah.
was like, that made it even worse for me. But I mean, I still loved the episode, and I loved Grace, and I wish she didn't have to die.
Yeah.
But it was really well written, and I really liked that,
Yeah.
even though I hated it.
Yeah, I
If that makes
understand.
any sense.
You're saying that. And it was really well done. And he says the best people are taken first, and says, I carry them with me, even if they are gone from the world, they are not gone from me. And so that's what the doctor says. And you do get a little bit of a break from the sadness with the doctor and the tension with the doctor going shopping, which was a really fun scene, I thought.
Mm-hmm. I really liked that scene.
I enjoyed that. And you see her creating her teleportation system and accidentally in quotes, bringing Ryan, Graham, and Yasmin with her. And so what do you think about this, her having 3 companions? How do you feel about that?
I really like it. I think the Doctor has always historically had one companion, sometimes more, but usually the Doctor sticks with one companion. And I really like the dynamic that it brings when there's more than one person traveling with the Doctor.
Uh-huh.
Like one of my favorite eras of Doctor Who was when the Doctor had Amy and Rory on board. I know you've said you don't like Karen Gillan, but I love Karen Gillan, and I love when Rory and Amy were together. Like Amy was there alone at first, but
Uh-huh.
Amy was engaged to Rory, and over the course of the 3 seasons, they eventually get married. And I loved the dynamic of the Doctor traveling with a married couple. And I don't know, there's just something about the Doctor traveling with multiple people that I think is more fun and opens up more possibilities than the Doctor just having one person with him. And
Yeah.
I like that there's not, I mean, Ryan and Graham are in their own way, they're family, but Yaz is not. And I like that it's 3 people who don't have a huge connection to each other.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's a new dynamic, and I'm excited to see where they go with it.
Yeah, and I kind of like that none of these are really, I don't think, going to be love interests, and so they
No,
can
I
just
don't
be
think so.
companions. So I like that, and it was really cute in the episode when she first meets Yaz, and she says, "I'm calling you Yaz because we're friends now." I thought that was
Yeah,
really cute.
I really like that scene too.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm excited. I think it's going to be fun to have these 3, different personalities, different just really different people, and I think they seem like they'll have chemistry between the 4 of them. So I'm looking forward to it for sure.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's dive into the Ghost Monument, the 2nd episode. What's your overall thoughts about this one?
I loved this episode.
Uh-huh.
I don't know that I was expecting to like it as much as I did, because it's not the kind of thing that I usually love, because I'm all about monsters. I love the weirder the aliens, the better. And this one really wasn't that, but it was so well written, and just the dynamics between the characters and the new characters that they introduced for the episode, and the way they gave them complicated backstories, but they didn't get into it too much. They told you just enough that you actually started caring about these people. I really enjoyed this episode. I was surprised at how much I got into it. It's it's one of my favorite episodes in a long time, I think, actually.
Oh, cool.
Even though it didn't have what I usually look for in a Doctor Who episode, there was something about it that I really liked.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it as well. I don't know if I liked it quite as much as the premiere, but it's always premieres. It's like so exciting, so hard
Yeah.
to say. But I really enjoyed it. I liked the whole idea of sort of this competition. I thought that was interesting. It was like the it's like the apocalyptic version of the Amazing Race, you know,
Hmm.
and it was just kind of fun, I thought, and it was beautifully filmed.
Yeah.
They were, I guess, in South Africa when they made it,
Yeah,
and
I
I
saw
thought,
that in the end credits that where they were filming on location in South Africa.
and
I'm
yeah,
I'm glad they did that because there was something about the location that it was so much better than if they'd gone to a quarry and used CGI to fill in the rest of it. It looked so good. It was very well shot.
yeah, I think so. So they're rescued by these two uh, people, humanoid, I guess, pilots, Angstrom and Epso, and they are the ones competing in this intergalactic competition. And they, I guess, everybody else in the competition has died, and they're on this planet, this hostile planet, that they can all and they have to get to a that they might have to do one more event in order to get the object called the Ghost Monument, and then the planet is going to finish its rotations, and so only one of them will end up surviving. And the Doctor is there looking for the TARDIS, and she thinks that, I think that might be the Ghost Monument, and so that's kind of, she ends up getting involved. And there's this long distance hologram, a guy who is sort of running this race, and so that's kind of the setup. And like I said, I thought it was pretty clever. It was an interesting idea of this setup, and this this Doctor, I think, is pretty like old school. Isn't is pretty simple, and I kind of liked that Ryan was Grammy's like, what do we do? Well, maybe we should follow her. That's probably a good idea. That was pretty good. Yeah, welcome to your first, I can presume, alien planet. Little lines mixed in between all the characters. I thought they did a good job with that. And they explain that the whole idea of the universal translator, and that those had been put into each of the characters. And she says, if I had the TARDIS, you wouldn't need them. But they've got, so that's how they're able to understand everybody.
Hmm. Usually the TARDIS does that for them.
Right.
It's just I I don't science fiction magic. It
Yeah.
just translates as they go. But this was I guess a handy way to do that without the TARDIS there. It's something that it is kind of a thing you have to overcome in science fiction where if you're meeting aliens, why does everybody speak English or whatever?
Right.
And I like that they have this thing to a plot device that explains that away without it having to be too complicated.
Yeah. So the Ghost Monument appears in exactly the same place every 10,000 rotations. And so that's what the end of the race is, the end of that rotation, and this will be able to find it. And hopefully it's the TARDIS. That's what they want.
Yeah, when they started talking about how the Ghost Monument reappears every, I don't know, I don't know what a rotation is like days, so is it like every year or every 1,000 years or whatever?
Yeah, if it was 10,000 rotations, yeah, and a rotation was every day, then that would be many, many years. But But
depending on how long the planet takes to go around its suns,
mhm.
because like different planets have different lengths of years and
Right,
whatever.
right,
But and who knows how long their days are, so we don't really know a
right.
time period. But I liked that they did that, had the ghost monument thing actually be the TARDIS. When they started talking about that, I was like, I bet that's where the TARDIS went. It's been on this planet, and people think that it's now this ghost monument. And I really liked that it became the target of both the race and what the Doctor was looking for.
Yeah, I did too. And we have Graham saying to Ryan, so are we sticking with Graham, not Granddad? Are we? So, what do you think of that dynamic between the two of them?
It's kind of what I expected. I have a feeling that they're going to be writing this season, forcing the two of them to become closer, and
Yeah.
probably by the end of the season, he'll start finally accepting him as his grandfather.
Hmm. Yeah, he said, "Are we ever going to talk about your Nan?" And Ryan says, be right now she'd be going, "You're on another planet. How cool is that?" So
I really liked that.
yeah, that was
I'm
nice.
I'm glad they're not forgetting about her.
Hmm.
I'm still. This is probably a foolish hope, but I'm still holding out a tiny bit of hope that there'll be some sort of science fiction magic work that will bring her back. It probably won't happen, but I still want it to.
Well, what did you think of these Engstrom and Epso?
I really liked them.
Hmm.
I like a lot of times in these one-off episodes, you're not given enough information or enough time with characters to actually care about them. But the way they were written and the way they talked about where they came from, their respective home planets, their families, you actually start to care for them and you care what happens to them. And I really liked that because normally the side characters are there to serve as, I don't know, plot devices to get the Doctor and companions where they need to go. But
Uh-huh.
I was actually invested in them, and I'm kind of sad that they ended up getting teleported away and they'll never know that the Doctor and the rest were going to be fine because they didn't want to leave them, but they had to. I'm hoping that we'll get to see them in a future episode. I don't know if that'll happen, but I really liked them
Yeah.
enough that I want them to come back, and that doesn't happen very often.
Yeah. Yeah, they were good. I liked them too. I definitely got that sense of desperation, but between them and this, this competition kind of wearing them down, but there was still humanity to them.
Hmm.
And I like when Epso says, "Were you born that miserable or did you have to work at it?" Funny.
Yeah, they had some great lines. They were just so well written.
Yeah, they were. I agree. And then you have um let's see. So the doctor sends out the electromagnetic pulse and it fries the system. And then Epso gets shot. And so there was some tension all through there. And the doctor says, there was a catastrophic event here. Some of us care about what happens to people. Uh, so go take one of your heroic naps. So that was
That
good.
was such a great line. I
Yeah.
loved that line
Yeah.
so much.
That was really,
I
really
laughed out loud.
good. And it brings, I think, some of the heart to the show that, like, technically, the doctor doesn't have to be doing any of this. The doctor doesn't
Hmm.
have to be helping people. She doesn't have to be at risk or any of these things. But she just feels, uh, and these aren't even technically her people,
Hmm.
but she feels a calling basically to help. So I like
Yeah,
that.
that's. I don't remember what episode it was, but I feel like there was some sort of explanation that the Doctor named himself the Doctor because he knows that helping is the right thing to do, and that's just it's carried through every Doctor, and
Yeah.
it's so much a part of the character to help, no matter what, even if it means like here that she might ultimately die, she's going to help them anyway.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that I love about Doctor Who, just the sense of doing the right thing no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that maybe some other sci-fi shows they can lose that sort of that humanity that this
Hmm.
show is able to keep, which I really appreciate.
Yeah.
And there was a great scene I thought in this where there's all this mist with these like they looked almost like eels in the mist that were trying to kind of like suck all the life out of them. I don't know what that was called, what they were called or anything, but I
I
thought
think
that
I read a review after I finished, and I think that they said in the credits they were named the Remnant. I
okay.
think they were basically a form of artificial intelligence that the scientists had created. I'm I'm gonna have to watch this again. I've only watched this once, like an hour ago, before
Well,
we started recording. But I
okay.
it was something that the scientists had invented as sort of a weapon, I believe. I
Yeah.
don't know. It was an
And
artificial intelligence, whatever they were. To me,
yeah,
they looked kind of like rags or blankets or something because of the
yeah.
way they wrapped themselves around them.
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know exactly what they were. I just know that
Yeah.
they
They-
were an
yeah.
artificial life form.
They looked kind of like electric eels kind of to me. But yeah, I can see it just like strips of fabric, something like kind of in that feel.
Hmm.
And they kind of suck the life out of you. They take your they can um use your fears against you, which is always a really interesting
Yeah.
concept in sci-fi or in horror or whatever is that because the more because you have to fight your fears
Hmm.
and but in doing that you're fearful of having more fear like it's kind of a
Yeah.
catch 22.
There was a
Yeah,
great episode of the Sarah Jane Adventures that dealt with a creature like that. Actually, there might have been more than
yeah,
one,
yeah,
but yeah,
yeah.
we might have to get to that show sometime. I think it's
Maybe. So she has this at first I thought it was a sonic screwdriver, but I guess it's a self-lighting cigar that she
that
uses.
was what was it, Epso? That was his, because he had it earlier in the episode. He was explaining um how
Okay.
rare these cigars were, and he was saving it for a special occasion.
Oh,
They
okay, I
they
missed
he
that.
said that they light when you snap your fingers, and they ended up using that against the,
Yeah.
I don't know, the rags, the remnant, whatever they were.
Yeah, and I liked as I said, "Are you afraid of your own newness?" Which I think is an interesting. It was an interesting quote that you think about that. There's got to be a little bit of that feeling, even with the show itself. You know that
Yeah.
this is a new thing, and I kind of thought that was interesting. And and when
When that
Graham,
when shows have characters or villains that can, I don't know, read people's minds, interpret their fears, use them against them, I think that that's a great way to,
yeah,
I don't know, look at how the inner workings of the main characters' minds are, especially in a case like this. That, like that line, that's a good example of that.
I agree with you. Yeah, and so Graham throws the cigar up and he says, "See, teamwork." That's good. And they get to the ghost monument and they decide, Engstrom and Epso decide to become, to insist upon being dual winners of the race. And at first the hologram guys like won't have it. And then the doctor insists upon it, and you go inside. They get inside the TARDIS, and it looks totally different. And she says, "My beautiful ghost monument, this is my TARDIS." So, how did you feel about the look of the TARDIS in that moment?
I, from what I could see, I liked it. I feel like we didn't get enough time to sort of explore the TARDIS, but
Uh,
that wasn't really the point of the scene. But I liked how different it looked. I like that the not every time, but a lot of the times when the Doctor regenerates, they'll have the TARDIS sort of regenerate itself too. And I liked that they gave it this totally new look. It was a lot more alien, I think, than the last one, and I liked that about it. It looks so unique.
Yeah.
I'll be interested to see more of it in future episodes.
Yeah, I liked it too. I thought it looked, I don't know, lack of a better word, I thought it looked fun.
Yeah.
So, so you feeling pretty positive after seeing these 2 episodes about the season and Jodie?
Yeah, I love Jodie so far. I think she's a great doctor. Um, I'd never seen her in anything else, so I wasn't sure how I was going to feel. I feel like that's how I feel about most times when the Doctor regenerates, because I'm not as familiar with, most of the time I don't have any idea who the Doctor is or the actor who plays the Doctor is. So I'm always like sort of hesitant going in because I'm afraid they're not going to be as good as the one who came before. But so far, I've always been pleased with the new Doctor, and Jodie is no exception. I thought she did a great job, and I'm really excited to see more of her. And
Yeah.
so far, the season has been great. I've really liked both episodes,
Yeah.
and I'm really excited to see what else happens.
Yeah, I think they did it was a very hard thing that they had to do in order to, and I'm sure they didn't please everyone, but
Oh, probably not.
probably not. But for the most part, what I've seen online and from friends, even I had friends who were nervous about it, unsure about it, and they liked it. Everybody I've talked to has liked it. I thought they did a really good job of not being a feminist propaganda kind of piece, just treating the character. And I thought the writing was really on point in both these episodes. I thought they looked really nice, and I liked the companions. They did enough that there were other stuff that was new, that I think you weren't only focusing on the fact that it was a female doctor and that it was a new doctor. And I think you can tell that Jodie has a certain degree of comedic timing. I saw David Tennant speak at Comic-Con and Salt Lake Comic-Con, and he said he didn't have any doubt at all about Jodie. They had worked together in Broadchurch, the show, and he was 100% confident that she was going to be great. Everybody would love her, and I think, from what I can tell, I'm a huge fan. I really liked both episodes, and I'm very excited. Because I would not be covering the show if I didn't love it, because I have so much on my plate right now. But I really, really enjoyed it, so I wanted to at least cover these 2. And anyway, so we will see what's going on and what works. As far as, we might do like 2 at a time. We'll just see. We're not sure. But let us know what you think if you're listening. What do you think of these 2 episodes, and what did you think of Jodie as the new Doctor? We'd love to hear your thoughts. And so, Jonathan, where can people find you?
I'm on social media at John J. North, pretty much everywhere. And if you search iHeart Animation, you'll find me on YouTube.
Great. And you can find me here at Rachel's Reviews on iTunes and on YouTube. Make sure to leave your reviews of the podcast on iTunes. We really appreciate it. And thanks so much for talking about Doctor Who with me. This was really fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really like doing this, and I love talking about Doctor Who. So,
okay. Well, good. All right. Well, we will talk again soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.